If you receive a notice that your Medicare premiums will increase due to high income, you might be able to appeal for a lower premium. We'll show you how coming up next. Andy Stamus here with Medicare Mindset. This video will detail how to appeal your high-income IRMAA Medicare premiums when you have a life-changing event such as retirement. We'll show you the form needed to make this happen, but first, some IRMAA basics and important notes. When you enroll in Medicare, the premium you pay to the government is based on your income. Typically, Medicare looks back at your income tax return from 2 years ago to determine this. Occasionally, Medicare looks at tax data from 3 years ago if they don't have a tax return from 2 years ago. If that's to your benefit, great. If not, you'll need to provide Social Security with a copy of the more recent tax return from 2 years ago. This video was created in 2022, so this year's premiums will be based on your 2020 income. 2023 Medicare premiums will be based on 2021 income, and 2024 Medicare premiums will be based on 2022 income, and so on. A standard income range and Medicare premium are set each year. If you're above that standard income range, you'll pay an IRMAA, or Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, on top of the standard Medicare premium this year for Part B and Part D if you're also enrolled in Part D coverage. And that's also in addition to any supplemental insurance plans you purchase through an insurance carrier. Regardless of when you watch this video, you can use the link you see here to access the most up-to-date Medicare premium table. This will help you understand where Medicare came up with the IRMAA amounts, and you'll see the income breakpoints to get you into a different income range for lower premiums. We'll also provide the link in the video description down below. But what if your income has dropped significantly? Well, if you or your spouse experience a life-changing event and also a reduction of income to a lower income range than 2 years ago, you can file an appeal, also known as a request for reconsideration. You can use an estimate of your income for this year to file the appeal, but don't be too aggressive with that estimate. You want to end up where you say you'll be. Otherwise, Social Security can audit your income and recoup the higher premiums they should have charged. For the life-changing events, the most common ones we see are work stoppage, essentially a retirement, and work reduction. To file the appeal, you'll need to complete Form SSA 44, which can be accessed at ssa.gov/forms. If you get it from here, you'll always have the most up-to-date version. You have to scroll down a bit to find it though, but it's there. The appeals are individual, meaning if you and your spouse are both starting Medicare and receive the high-income IRMAA notice, you each will need to complete a separate Form SSA 44. In this case, submit the 2 sets of paperwork together though, so the same Social Security rep processes your forms. We'll go through the form in detail in just a moment, but a few additional comments. Social Security prefers it if you include supporting documentation. Each Social Security office seems to handle these differently, so you may be asked to provide additional information later. In general, it's good to include some sort of proof of your situation. For example, when retiring or reducing work hours, provide something from your employer showing the change of status. And then when it comes to income documentation, this is where things get interesting. If you have anything official showing your income estimate, like a W-2 or 1099, go ahead and include that with your paperwork. But you technically aren't required to provide proof of the income estimate you list. It even states this on page 8 of the appeal form, that in the absence of such proof, they will accept a signed statement from you under penalty of perjury. But if you can create a quick summary sheet breaking down how you came to your income estimate, please include that. Anything you can do to not annoy the Social Security rep is a good thing. When the form is complete and supporting documents are in order, make a copy for your records, and then mail everything to your local Social Security office. Our preference is to use USPS Priority Mail, as you get a confirmation number to verify the delivery at USPS.com. You could fax the documents, but that's hit or miss. They don't always receive it. Use fax as a backup. And you could leave it in the office location's Dropbox, but there's nothing to show proof they received it. Try to stay away from this if possible. Okay now, let's get into the form. Once you receive the initial IRMAA determination letter from Social Security, which confirms you will have higher Medicare premiums and details how they determine your premium, you can take action and submit this form. There are 8 pages, but only pages 1 through 3 need to be filled out. The rest are instructions. Page 1 is really easy. Enter your full legal name and your Social Security number. That's it. The rest of the page mentions the income ranges and how they use modified adjusted gross income to determine your premiums. Unfortunately, Social Security will still list the wrong tax years on this form, which is frustrating and confusing. At the time this video was created, the form updated for 2022 is incorrectly making reference to looking at your 2019 or even 2018 tax return. It should say that they will look at your 2020 tax return, or maybe 2019 if they don't have your 2020 tax return on file. Nevertheless, don't pay attention to their mistake. Just enter your name and social, then move on to page 2. On page 2, there are 3 steps, but really only step 1 and step 2 are required. In general, people overthink this page, but it's easier than you think. Really, the hardest part is deciding on what your estimated income will be for this year. Let's take a look at step 1. Here, you need to choose the life-changing event that applies to you. There are 8 different options, but some of them have pretty narrow guidelines to qualify. A brief description of each is on page 5 of the form. Again, the most common life-changing events are work stoppage and work reduction. Those are pretty black and white. After you select your choice, you'll need to enter the date the event occurred. And there's a little bit of white space to the right where you can even make note whether the event applies to you or your spouse. It isn't required, but we think it's a helpful note to add. For step 2, you need to enter your income estimate and tax filing status for the year you choose. This section is where people go wrong. Don't overthink this. The instructions the form provides on page 6 will make you go cross-eyed. Don't even look at it. Instead, focus on your new reality. Is your income going to be lower now in the year you start Medicare Part B compared to 2 years ago? If so, enter your income estimate in this new reality. For example, if you're starting Medicare in 2022 after retiring, and Medicare is saying your income was higher in 2020, then enter 2022 for the tax year when the income was reduced by the life-changing event. Then enter your estimate of your adjusted gross income, AGI, and tax-exempt interest, which combined is your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI. If you typically don't have any tax-exempt interest on previous tax returns, then just focus on the AGI figure and mark $0 for tax-exempt interest. But you definitely need to have a dollar amount listed for your AGI. But you might say, well, what if my income in 2021 and 2022 will both be lower than 2020? Which year should I enter here? Here's how you should look at it. If both years are in the same income range, then it really won't matter. Pick a year and enter the data. But if one of those years is in a lower income range than the other, choose the one that is lower, which will benefit you. Okay, now we're at step 3. We almost always recommend marking no here. Here's why. While the following tax year may be in a lower income range than this year, you'll still need to file another appeal a year later if your income was high multiple years prior to your life-changing event. Yes, that means you might need to file this appeal twice because of the 2-year lag in the income data. So just mark no, knowing you might need to appeal again next year, and move on to page 3. You're almost done. On page 3, step 4, it mentions that you should attach any supporting documentation for your situation. As mentioned earlier, it's best to include helpful documents like a retirement letter and a breakdown of your income. Make this as clear as possible for the SSA rep handling request. It will save time and potentially eliminate the need for them to request more information from you. After that, add your signature and address in step 5 at the bottom of the page. Then make copies of pages 1 through 3 and the supporting documents and mail everything to your local Social Security office. You can look up the Social Security office assigned to you by using the SSA office locator link, which you can see here. We'll also put it down in the video description below. Allow 30 to 60 days for processing. If you don't hear anything after 30 days, feel free to call the local office to check in. Always be polite and just make sure they have everything they need. If your appeal was denied and you think it should have been approved, sometimes you need to push a little bit and speak with the manager. If you're a client of ours, this is where we can step in and help when necessary. One final note. While your appeal is processing, you will either pay premiums via automatic deduction from your Social Security benefits or by direct invoice every 3 months. Be sure to stay current with your premiums, even if they are the higher premiums. If the appeal is approved, you will be reimbursed for the excess premiums you already paid. We understand the IRMAA appeal form can be intimidating, but hopefully now you have the information to move forward confidently and get those Medicare premiums reduced. Well, thanks for watching, and please check out our other how-tos and Medicare tips.